it. But what's going on is that there's a face reading technology, and it's been really hard development actually, and I mean it's quite amazing what they're doing, but it still takes ages. And so the camera reads your emotion expressions in your face, and then that drives this video footage. But when I say drives this video footage, with the neuroscientists, we're sort of working out these codes about how we do mimic. And in certain emotional states, it's different. So in happiness, if I start laughing, probably a lot of you, well, a few of you would probably start laughing as well. But if I started to be really angry or something like that, you'll probably sit there and, you know, and get a little bit sad and down in order to...
That actually happens, because if you're watching, for example, a TV program and someone's angry, I don't think, oh, I feel angry. It's more, I'm watching someone who's angry. The screen plays an integral part and a difference maybe.
Do you know, I guess what we're trying to explore is, I mean, when I started to create this database last year, I was like, oh gosh, you know, we're in a bit of a predicament here because we're using what's called a face reading technology that's going to be picking up very subtle emotions to drive footage. So we need to create footage that actually obviously creates a change in people's facial expressions. So we tested that in the lab and showed the footage and worked out if people were unconsciously making changes in facial expressions towards the footage, and they were. So I think it does happen, but I think it probably happens a little bit unconsciously, and I think the one to talk about that a bit more might be Harry, really. Sorry, Harry.
Yeah, so I think, so the issue, there are two questions here being brought up here. The first is that when you watch television and you see someone angry on the television, you don't feel angry. But you often do want them to get the bad guy. So there's this issue about how you relate, how is there emotional contagion in a work of art where you're one step removed. And so there is a fact that you do respond and say, go get the bad guy, yeah, get it. But you don't feel the anger. Now, are you not angry, or how is that affecting you? And realistically, within a scientific environment, all we're left with is looking for what we would call microgestures, very small movements in the face to see if there might be some residuum of anger, some tiny bit of anger that can be detected. So that's quite a difficult thing to get through.
I think there's also, Harry, there's also a difference. If you're watching a portrait of someone on your own or a television or comedy on your own, you'll sit there and it's really funny and you're just going. But if you have someone else in the room with you, you actually laugh a lot more. So the project downstairs is actually made for group interaction, not one-on-one interaction.
Part of it is already. We're still deciding. The thing is, we haven't shown it yet in the gallery as a group. So I've been holding back just for that reason, just so that we're sure to have the exclusivity of showing it, you know. A lot of people have tried to make video with that material, which is electroluminescent paper. It's a very common material. It's basically a backlight, your backlight in a cell phone. That's basically what it is. But we're the first ones to have actually shown it, and that's including big players. Like we're talking like major corporations that have claimed to be working video, but they're obviously trying to make color, high-resolution video, which is not what we're about.
I was interested because if it was like low cost and open source and stuff like that, this project.
I mean, you know, I design electronics and software as an artist, so I have. I mean, every line of code I make is part of my art, so I have to show it. If I make a plan, I have to show it. Because I think it's beautiful in some way. You know, I took pains to craft it beautifully and make sure, you know, it will work and maybe be useful to somebody, maybe not.
But actually, Pixy, more than it is open source, and on the other hand, it's open to other users. So that's probably the best way to get access of it, is to call for collaboration.
Yeah, because it's built now, so.
Oh, and interestingly, initial feedback from Kim is that the smaller screens work better to derive a sense of sort of intimacy and more of an understanding of what's going on. I think there was a sense that there was more interactivity with the Pixy screen, just with the flashing pixels and then trying to work out, oh, it's a spectrogram or it's an emotional whatever. I think that was you, Harry, wasn't it? But what was wonderful when we saw your face, where you actually discovered that it was a face. Once you grab that it's a face, it sort of stays with you as well, you know. So, but a lot of the feedback I've had is that, yeah, Pixy has been really enjoyable, but not emotive, is what I've got back a lot. Well, not a lot. I mean, this stuff from Kim, we won't really know what's going on till, you know, October, but initial things that she's told me, yeah.
What we have done here is one form of Pixy. The whole idea behind the technology is really to first explode the screen matrix. Screen is basically a matrix of pixels. Right now, these pixels are square. I mean, we could have had circles, stars, random shapes. Different colors. Each pixel one can be there, and its neighbor over there, and the next one over there, kind of like in a galaxy of stars. The idea is not to say, well, we have a bit of a screen here and a bit of a screen here. Oh, and that's 16 of them, that's a word. No, that's not it. The idea is basically to explode the technology and try to make something human out of it, something different that will look more like us than the technology. The thing about, for example, when you look at the screen, or when you look, it will be much easier to catch on human figures, anything that's organic, animals, trees. You can actually see trees in the Pixy, which is quite amazing because there's almost nothing to make up the image, you know, there's so few squares. But if you show a computer, you can't say you can't tell it's a computer, you know. Which means that, yeah, we as humankind, we make technology, but we're still very much like animals. We're very organic still, and that says a lot, you know. And that's the kind of, I want the Pixy to like move more towards that. Explore with paints. The technology, the electronics that's behind it can drive anything. It can drive this electroluminescent paper. It can drive light bulbs. It can drive LEDs, mirrors, you name it, fans. You can make video images with fans too if you want.
But to go back to the...
you know, and mix it together.
But to go back to the tension you were expressing between intellectual movement of understanding and perceiving and making sense out of it, and the emotions that we are getting at it, I think actually that's quite problematic. How do you... I'm not sure it's such easily resolved in everyday life, and I'm not sure I'm really able to use my brain when I feel an emotion. Well, I look at myself and being a particularly sensitive person, and I think it's really part of those type of tensions that do create a problematic and do create.
Or for its use in medicine, or you know, for its use in science and stuff like that, that you could have something to use. So that's where it could go. But my job now is to sort of try and strip it back, I think, and actually stay true to all the collaborators that I've been working with, why they got involved in the first place. You know, so I think hence we arrived at that decision. But it doesn't mean, actually, when you say goodbye to a project like this, because you think about it for a long time and you write all this stuff and You obviously write, grants, and it fills your mind space. And then you've got to say, okay, bye-bye. And it's like saying goodbye to a little child. I'll see you soon. It's not, I find it's not easy.
No,
it's not an easy decision to come to.
And it's not fixed and film, and you never know what life is about.
Well, plus, I mean, you filmed people that were really exposing the deepest of their soul to you.
Yeah.
And that will stay with you no matter what. In your other projects, in anything in everyday life.
Yeah.
Because that's so special.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to everybody.
No. Yeah, I think I was writing today whether that would be something that you could introduce into Pixy scenario, for example, to somehow bring something in when no one's there, or a bit more breath, or really work the sound when the sound is still. But for the other side of the video footage that I'm working with, I'm probably just trying to keep it back to human sounds like breath and this and sighs and and just keep it. And actually, I keep a lot of the room noise into my soundtracks, which probably really annoys sound production people. But I quite like it because it sort of just reminds you of what happened in that room. You can feel little echoes in the background and stuff like that. That's as far as I want to go with sound for this project, I think.
One thing I've noticed over the sort of time is that everything's been shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Which again can be quite sinister or quite adds to that sort of anger element. Even when people are laughing and being happy, as opposed to something that is actually lit up that does actually give a different emotive feeling or transference.
Well, I guess I've just kept it, going down my science line at the moment, is I've kept it all exactly the same. The lighting doesn't change for any emotion.
Do you think that?
I don't want it because I just want people to read the face, none of the extra stuff. What does science say? I'm trying to disambiguate something. I'm just trying to keep it really as simple as possible. I'm taking my reductionist approach. Because usually I layer a lot and I do that and I add this and I add that and add that. So it's quite raw for me to actually leave something back to it. So back to just a plain old face. And I'm going to continue with that footage. Yeah, I don't see anything else happening to it.
Something that does happen at Fabrica is that we always have front of house staff volunteers who act as gallery attendants, and something they've done spontaneously, which we now encourage, is to make notes of the conversations they overhear, observations they make, and in fact the volunteers have been making their own little piece of artwork, in fact, which is in the form of a booklet at the end of each show, which includes those observations. But I think we would definitely need to get feedback to Tina any of these observations. Like you were saying yesterday that the MIT's face reading technology has problems with beards. So I'm really wondering if we get a group of bearded men, if these screens are going to start laughing at them because they can't understand that.
That'd be
They get a bomb at that point.
Yeah. So I find that process really interesting. And actually, even some of these shoots that in the studio, because some of the content has been so friggin' personal, and I feel like these people have given so much, I go, all right, there's a tape for me, and there's a tape for you. Some of them are artists. You go and do what you want with it. I'm using it to do this, but you do. And I like that process, generating content and then giving it back, and then seeing what happens. I think it's really interesting because it really feeds my own work. So.
But you're hoping to use quite a lot of the videos you've shot in Brighton?
I've shot about 6 Brighton people, and I will be using them in Fabrica. So it's the next month, editing and just looking at them and seeing what happens. And I think that's important as well. I want the content to have a relationship with the space. These are people that work in Fabrica. Some are trustees, some are volunteers.
Cheers. Thanks for coming, and thank you, Tina. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Mikhail. And thank you, Michael.
And thank you, Lighthouse.
And thank you, Lighthouse.
Thank you, Lighthouse.